but simply because I want to have some place to refer to. Because I know the moderator has cautioned us against taking so much time. But I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Dancun, Maigwa. I work with the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium as a Strategic Communications Officer, but also a project lead on a project that has been engaging the young people on how to counter information disorders. That is misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and fake news. And that has been through a number of awareness programs, and also through a digital democracy fellowship, where we also now engage young people on how they can engage in digital democracy, but now more responsibly. And I can't be more elated than I am today, that today we are talking about digital wellness. And coming from an organization that works around matters governance, we're now in a position where we are talking about e-governance. And I don't want to sound political, but I know all of you can bear me with witness that we are in a point whereby the country has a very vibrant youth population, but one that has been so much disoriented because of the burden of distinguishing between truth and falsehood. And that has really affected very many people in terms of even affecting their perceptions towards governance. And many people are, I think for the first time, we are finding young people, someone seated, I know that is the cliche that people say, that someone seated in their bedsitter is able to insult a whole CS ruthlessly, right? Because the distinction between truth and falsehood has become such a big issue. And people now, what they can do, because they are not very sure about what they can do, is just to abuse the leaders. Because when you see a leader, you don't know how to describe them. Yeah, you're not sure what kind of leader they are. Because I know now we are talking about Saul and Paul. Have we seen these conversations? Whereby we are talking about Saul Nyoro and Paul Nyoro. We are talking about Saul Gachagua and Paul Gachagua after the Damascus moment, where when they were in government, they were different people, very ardent supporters and defenders of government initiatives. But once they are kicked out, and then they become now Paul. You know, they were Saul someone, and now it's Paul someone. You know, it's a very interesting conversation. But today we recognize the fact that technology is not just a cool, phenomenon that we are talking about, but we are understanding that technology forms part of an information ecosystem that shapes perspectives, that shapes even youth participation in governance, right? And I think when we talk about wellness, we cannot ignore the fact that misinformation and disinformation forms a very great part of wellness, because there is nothing as bad as when we have a country or a situation where very many people, including leaders, take the front role in terms of leveraging on information gaps that exist amongst young people. And then now in that kind of arrangement, then they now utilize that information gap to mislead, because misinformation, disinformation, all these are to mislead, right? And we now find a situation whereby now these youth find themselves now developing what we call civic fatigue. They cannot contribute meaningfully into governance, and now, because you know the Constitution provides has provisions for petitioning even government institutions, but now we see that the petitioning is now happening grossly on the online platforms, right? And I know we can all agree to this. But now, because of these falsehoods that now affect the perceptions and how even the young people consider and even view governance, they develop what we now call civic fatigue. Because now what misinformation and disinformation does is that it usually creates even some kind of artificial controversies, even online, yeah? But before I sit down, because I need to just unearth something that I have called the anatomy of a lie. Because whenever we have people living in a lie, and please don't say that I'm talking anything politics, right? And don't start grouping me and registering me in some political party. I'm just talking, okay? Because lies are lies and they happen in any way. When we talk about misinformation, when we talk about conspiracy theories, we see, you know, the African ants and uncles that share some of these conspiracy theories even on our WhatsApp. Like I remember there was one when I noticed in our church group, someone shared that there were snakes. Because there was a time, I think last year, when there was heavy rains, and there was something that was being shared by our aunts and our moms, that snakes had left, I think I don't know whether it's Nairobi National Park because of the flooding. And anyway, in thinking like a pedestrian, you would see some sense in that, because even you would ask yourself, when there are floods, how do snakes survive? Of course, they have to leave their burrows and come out, right? So, and now people are being cautioned in Nairobi that they need to be very careful because of these snakes, because the snakes were now freely roaming around Nairobi. And now I would see our parents writing on WhatsApp, God protect our children, God protect our sons and daughters, you know, and they were praying for us, you know. And sometimes you even wonder how even our parents survive. Have you gone to Shags of late and you listen to how our parents talk about us? And sometimes they even call us a crooked generation because of the kind of misinformation, conspiracy theories that are being spread. And many of them are even living in fear. Yeah, many of them don't even want to release their girls out here. Yeah, I also found another conversation where parents are now worried about now educating the girl child, because they are saying now if they educate the girl child and she comes and meets what they usually see on social media, you know, parents are not also able to distinguish between what is factual and what is just another theory. So, but when I talk about the anatomy of a lie, I would say that the truth dies very slowly. In fact, does not die with a bang. It dies very, very, very slowly, but it dies through the silent collusion of 4 actors, and these are the actors that contribute to the dying of truth. And now people begin to coexist with lies, and therefore their mental health becomes a big issue because they are not able to make decisions from a point of understanding. And these 4 actors, I would start with creators. These are people who spin falsehoods. These are people who craft emotionally explosive content that is designed to hijack reason, that is designed to hijack, you know, what we call our very humanity, you know, even our dignity. And by the way, when people live in falsehoods, it also deprives them of their dignity, okay? Because they are not able to make decisions from an informed platform. Now, this lie, after it has been created by this, by the creators, then it travels through a network of spreaders. And now this is where most of us come in, and especially the young people. The spreaders are not only the young people, again the human ones, but we also have the spreaders that we also call the algorithms, you know, on social media. Because algorithms, what they do, they also reward outrage. You know, they reward what is trending, however untrue that will be. And also the influencers who trade integrity with engagement. You know, we have seen that even in Kenya, if you want to trend, you have to go controversial. And this one is something that has really affected even the lifestyle of the young people that are watching and those who are seeing what some of their role models are doing. So these spreaders are actually a network, and that's why actually in our campaigning and in the work that I have been doing, we've been talking to the young people and telling them that before you share, you need to stop, reflect, and then verify. You stop, you reflect, and verify. And then once you verify, then you can debunk. Maybe if it is a lie, you need to expose, that is exposing the hollowness of a lie or of some information. And then there's something also very major that very many of us maybe might not have thought about it, about the funders. Because when we talk about the information ecosystem, we are talking about the economy. We've been calling it the economy of misinformation and disinformation, where we have actors around that economy. But in that economy of mis and disinformation, we have the funders. You know, these are the people who we usually call them like shadow architects. They are people who push narratives, who push smear campaigns, you know, and all this actually to fuel chaos, you know, and sometimes many of them have even destabilized even democracies. You know, these are funders. These are people who benefit from conspiracy theories. These are people, we have seen, like for now, we've never even truly understood the whole truth about COVID-19. True or not true? You know, we are still in the circles of some of these theories that makes us get fatigue, you know, because there's a lot of online manipulation around all this. Sometimes we are told that US is giving this narrative, China is giving this narrative, but all this to influence perceptions, right? And then finally we have the regulators. And now for the regulators, these are now the people who just watch, and sometimes they just watch from the edge helplessly. Because some of them, like for instance, if we consider the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act of 2018, it will talk about some of these regulations. I can see you want to come, I saw you. Some of these regulations, but again, to punish offenders, but then again, how do we bridge the gap between regulation and also the freedom of expression, and also issues around accountability. But now, maybe just to give a final remark. The final remark that I'm going to give is on the cost and how this really affects us. Because what we are doing is that we are witnessing what someone called the greatest heist in history, whereby we now have theft of reality itself. You know, the reality has been taken away from people. That is the greatest heist that we have, because we cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. And therefore, I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we building a community of young people that is going to thrive on falsehood, or that is going to thrive on the truth? Because all that boils down to digital wellness and also mental health. Thank you so much. God bless you.
A round of applause. Thank you very much, Dancun. Thank you very much. At least we are now getting better. Before we go to our chief guest, may I give 1.5 minutes for Veronica Shamiri just to say one word, and then we'll continue. Veronica, karibu.
Thank you. I don't know how much I can say with one word. My name is Veronica. I am from Shamiri Institute. Shamiri Institute is a non-governmental...
Sorry, Veronica, 5 minutes.
Thank you. That was a little bit better. Yeah, so Shamiri Institute is a non-governmental organization that pretty much focuses on mental health, and especially among adolescents. So we have an intervention we call Shamiri intervention. That is a strength-based intervention that we take to high schools, engaging them in that case. So I am a psychologist by profession, and this is a quite a timely conversation, Collins. And I thank you and your team for engaging us and calling us to contribute to this conversation. Digital, what do I call it? Digital advancement is a good thing. I think some years back there was a call for digital literacy. Everybody to sort of like access and use digital media or platforms. But again, as someone rightfully said, too much of something can also be poisonous, right? So unregulated use of social media has also been, very unfortunate, because we have a lot of mental health issues that emanate from use of digital space. I think it is a call for everybody to sort of like, starting with us as people, to be responsible in terms of how we use social media, how we use digital spaces, and as well create awareness to other people to sort of like be responsible as they use social media. I think it is also important and on tech companies, and I know some of the people who are in this space create softwares, for example, and we know that most of the content that we feed ourselves on social media, in many instances is algorithm driven. So you click on something, could be something about dieting, and all then you get is about dieting. It can be something about how people look. And I mean, digital and social media consumption can be very damaging to the young people, to people in marriages and families. I am a therapist by profession, and I have seen families split because of unregulated use of social media. As someone said, husbands are spending a lot of time playing games, right?